of Duty Black Ops 6
Mhm.
releasing day and date on Xbox Game Pass. Now, we did do a little bit of a talk about this last episode about, you know, where it would sit, if it didn't sell well or if it did sell well, if there was bump in Game Pass subscribers and all that sort of stuff. And Josh, I think we were right.
We did, yeah. If you go back and listen 2 weeks ago, we said that the feedback was this was going to be the most played Call of Duty, most high player count, more, that type of
Break
break
records.
records, but not specifically talk sales, which Microsoft don't necessarily do. But I mean, stepping back from all that, Black Ops as a launch, I mean, the game's done extremely well. It's reviewed extremely well. It's one of the most high-rated Call of Duty games in the last 10 years, and that's coming off the back of Modern Warfare 3, which wasn't very good. But Sean, you've actually played the game. The gameplay you are seeing on screen and have been seeing for the last 40 minutes is Sean's gameplay. So maybe even before we talk specifics around its launch and success and Game Pass and all that, what are your impressions of the game? Have you finished the campaign? Have you just been doing multiplayer? Take it away.
I have not done multiplayer yet. I've always got a pattern with Call of Duty games when I do play them to get through the campaign, because that also gives you the best tutorial that you can get in terms of how to play, and then you go into multiplayer to get squashed. So I'm still playing the campaign, and one of the things that I really appreciate about it is some of the set pieces are very good set pieces. Some of the options that you have to be able to do the missions are very not obvious, but you can really decide how you go about a mission. So, and the character will tell you, hey, this is the moment. Do you want to get some guns and go charging in the front door, guns blazing, or do you want to try and stealthily work your way through this operation? And you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. So
That's awesome.
because it's a Call of Duty game and we're thinking bash, crash, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to do 2 playthroughs of the campaign. The first one, I'm trying to do as much stealth as possible to see kind of, see the movement patterns and all that sort of stuff. And then once I get through it all, I'll go through it and it's like, all right, I'm walking in with a shotgun. Let's see what happens. Bash, crash, do all that sort of stuff. The game looks great. The game plays great. There's a couple of little changes. Now, full disclosure, I didn't play Modern Warfare 3 because Modern Warfare 2 felt like it was an unfulfilled follow-up of Modern Warfare 1, and this is the remakes. Like I'm a big Call of Duty fan from Modern Warfare, like Call of Duty 4 back in the day, 2007, and Modern Warfare 2, which I think still is one of the best Call of Duty games of all time. But for Black Ops 6, there are some changes, like quality of life changes in a first-person shooter that I really like. For example, did you know you can sprint running backwards? I didn't.
Makes total sense.
But I found out I'm trying to back away from this big brute, and I'm able to sprint backwards while shooting my shotgun. And it feels so smooth in terms of playing. And you've got your tap to slide or you hold to jump when you're crouching and moving. There's little movement things like that just work. But some of the set pieces in terms of location wise, and okay, you've got the window down the side and you kind of you feel like you're figuring it out for the first time, but in reality it is purely scripted. Like you're walking down an alleyway and it's like you see some boxes leading up to on top of a truck and you're like, hang on, I'm pretty sure that's at a height I can climb. And you'll climb up there, you'll see a vent. And it's like, hang on, there's a vent up here. I'm trying to get into this building, and it walks you along it. Now, Call of Duty games have been doing this for years. Don't get me wrong. Like this is normal for a Call of Duty game, but it's feeling very organic, and that's the thing that I appreciate about it. The fact that you've also got a home base that you can upgrade during the game, and you can find cash during levels. So previously it'd be collecting intel as a collectible, but now you can collect cash, and so that cash can be used to upgrade your abilities in the campaign, or it might be to unlock guns in multiplayer, that sort of thing. So I'm actually having some good fun with it.
Yeah.
And I from all the reviews and from talking to people who have been playing it, and I haven't spoken to somebody that's played it on PlayStation yet. I think that's also another thing. Every single person that I'm speaking to is either playing it on Xbox or playing it on PC.
Interesting.
For Game Pass. So I think that's very interesting. But everyone's saying that it's a welcome return. Very enjoyable. Apparently, multiplayer is good. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
where it's at the moment. I'm still only a few levels into the campaign, so I'm still really like testing it through. But it like the campaign feels like a regular campaign. It's pretty cool. There's a couple of like nice little walking missions and stuff. I haven't done the all gillied up variant for this one yet, but I hope there is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to potentially playing this one. I think I'm going to save this for like Christmas time, just something I can maybe after Metaphor get my RPG done, and then I can, just blaze through a first person shooter. But it's launch, and it's yeah, all signs point to this being one of the better Call of Duties, if not the best in a very long time. So interesting your point around, or your thought around the people you're talking to playing on Xbox. That's an interesting thing, and I guess kind of leads directly into the Game Pass discussion and what's kind of come from it. So yeah, take it away.
So when you load up the game through the Xbox, it's not Call of Duty Black Ops 6. It's the Call of Duty app. So if you haven't played a Call of Duty in a couple of years, it is just Call of Duty. You load it up, and it has Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 6, and it's got one of the other ones. I think it's Black Ops 5.
Has it got like
maybe.
the war? What's it called? The free first person shoot. The battle royale.
Warzone.
Warzone. I was gonna say Warfare.
No. Warzone's its own separate one, but because that one. So Warzone was included with Modern Warfare 1.
Okay.
Remake.
Yeah.
So this one has Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6. And so you kind of pick which game you're going to do.
Are you playing on console or PC?
I'm playing on console.
Console, okay.
I'm playing on console. There has been a couple of little jitters. I think just a couple. I think maybe 2 or 3. I might have captured one on the footage that you see. But otherwise, it's one of those ones that you load into the Call of Duty app. You can pick, okay, so out of the games, which one do you pick? Okay, do you pick multiplayer, zombies, or campaign? And you kind of go through there. So in terms of getting to it, yep, pretty simple. When you download it, you're basically downloading 3 Call of Duty games.
Yeah, I saw Donkey's video on like him playing Call of Duty. It was just like, it was a PC thing, but it was like downloading the game, and then it was copying, and then it was installing, and then it kept going back to 0 for some reason.
Yep. Because you're downloading 3 games. It's like when you're downloading the Master Chief Collection, and then it downloads Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo 3 AEST, Halo Reach. It's doing them all individually. Halo 2 Remastered. So it's like that sort of thing. But in terms of like marketing, it's been huge. Huge. The actual app itself is it's pretty easy to navigate and all that sort of stuff. As I said, I've had a couple of like little, like not glitches, but maybe the lighting just flickers a little bit or something like that, which you can tell is not meant to happen. But otherwise, in terms of having it on Game Pass, I think while playing through it, I am thinking like, would I pay full price for this game? And I think the fact that it is split up into campaign, zombies, multiplayer, 100% feels like it would be best suited to Game Pass. Where I think they've gone with the money wise, and I think this is an Activision thing that they've had for a few years now, is through like Battle Pass and through cosmetics and through guns and that sort of stuff. I think that's where they're going to be pushing the microtransactions. Which they've been doing for a little bit now, especially after Warzone. But I think that's where a lot of it's going to be pushed. So don't be surprised to see like a new pack come out, every week or every 2 weeks.
Taylor Swift,
like that. Yeah, basically all that sort of stuff. Don't be surprised to see that coming into the game.
Well, we've got a few quotes I'll quickly read through, and then we can go through in a bit more detail. So, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has set new opening day and weekend launch records for the 20-plus-year-old franchise. With its October 25th release. According to Microsoft Gaming, that's funny, Black Ops 6 was available to Game Pass customers at launch as part of Microsoft's push into its subscription service overall revenue strategy. The game was heavily marketed by Activision across social media, TV, live experiences ahead of its debut. Last week's launch Quote, last week's launch of Black Ops 6 was the biggest Call of Duty release ever, setting a record for day one players as well as Game Pass subscribers on launch day, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said during the company's quarterly earnings call on Wednesday that just passed. Quote, and unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up 60% year on year. However, Microsoft did not disclose specifics for any number of those Black Ops 6 metrics or comparable figures for any previous Call of Duty game on Xbox. So,
Two notes.
Two notes, go.
So the unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up 60% year on year. It's not that hard when the last game was shit.
Yep.
And the fact that they've said that Game Pass subscriber ads on launch day is a record. So that means Starfield, that means Halo Infinite, that means any game on launch, not launch of the service, but any game on launch, which I think we were talking about last week. Wouldn't be surprised to hear that. There it is.
And then if you look at, we've got some physical UK sales that have come in. So you can check Christopher Dring out on Twitter if you want more information. But this is from his Twitter account. UK physical sales are in for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Launch sales are 10% lower compared to Modern Warfare 3. This is almost entirely due to the drop in sales on Xbox, which was inevitable with Game Pass. PS5 sales remain steady year on year. Then when you look at their sales breakdown from platform, and then again, this is taken out of UK sale, and this is a split per platform. PS5 accounted for 70% of the sales of the game. 16% was PC, 10% was Xbox, and then 4% was PlayStation 4. So, I guess I'll start in terms of where this all sits. This is somewhat unexpected. Like, there was always going to be a drop in sales because of Game Pass, right? Just inherently by the nature of a service offering the game. I think it's too early to take, obviously the game's a success. I'm not talking about that, but it's too early. Like, I've seen people running with the narrative of, see, the game's selling less, blah, 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 blah. Xbox bad, Game Pass bad. I think it's way too early to start even thinking that yet, because if they can offset the copies sold with more people playing and more people spending money, they might have a game that sells less physically or virtually, like selling less, but making more money because more people are playing it. I think that's an overall win. It is interesting to see, we talk about the Game Pass effect in terms of, how does the sales of a game drop? So it is interesting to see the drop of, 10% lower compared to Modern Warfare 3, which again is interesting because Modern Warfare 3 is notably, a bad launch. So I've got more information here. In total, sales of Black Ops 6 are down 15% compared to... okay, so one article saying 15%, one saying 10%. So between 10 and 15%.
Yeah.
And 46% compared to Modern Warfare 2. So that is interesting. Down 15%, 10 to 15% when compared to Modern Warfare 3, and 46% when compared to Modern Warfare 2. And again, this is talking UK specific sales, which is Microsoft's second largest market besides America, right? So
what that tells me is that, yep, there is the Xbox Game Pass effect, but what would be the figures in terms of PlayStation for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3 to now? Because if Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6 are even keel, and there's been that drop in Xbox, and that's a 10 to 15% drop on Xbox. So is that then a 10 to 15% drop in sales to be increased on Game Pass? For example, if it was, let's say, 1 million copies, right? If 10% was 1 million copies, which obviously no, but did that million subscribe to Game Pass to be able to play it? And so instead of buying the game, they subscribed.
Yeah.
That's where, we're not going to find out until maybe the next earnings call, maybe never, because they don't really like giving out the figures of how many subscribers they have on Game Pass anymore. But that would be the story to run with, because you want to see if those sales equated to Game Pass subscriptions or Game Pass subscribers. And even then, you look in 6 months' time. Like at the moment for us, Game Pass Ultimate's, I think, $22, $23. So in 6 months' time, that's the cost of the game,
Yeah, and this
basically.
is
So
taken from Push Square as well, which I guess gives a little bit more context. It says during physical sales are 10% lower compared to Modern Warfare 3, which is what we said, between 10 to 15%. Which, and then this is from Push Square adding a bit of context, which is due to Game Pass. Game Pass, while sales on Sony's system are in line with expectations. To be clear, Modern Warfare 3 sales were also down compared to the entry before. But the difference is that its physical sales were at least consistently down across the board, whereas Black Ops 6 has only been physically down on Xbox. So what it's saying is Modern Warfare 3 saw consistently sales drop across all platforms, right? And that was probably due to the reception of the game, right? It was negatively, seen. Whereas Black Ops 6 only has, again, this is a physical drop, and Xbox is mostly a digital marketplace. On Xbox. So, a few things to take from this.
People are buying PlayStation.
Yeah, a few things to take away from this, right? This is just one market. This is just physical sales, and Xbox is primarily a digital marketplace. I do think that there is some interesting dialogue in what the effect is, and is it a 10% drop? I don't think it's as answer as that, right? It's not every game that launches on Game Pass is going to be 10% sell 10% less than it would if it didn't. I don't think you can't just take that as a blanket statement, but there was always going to be the effect of the games selling less on Xbox. Again, if they can make that up with microtransactions and exceed that number, then they're in the clear. But it is interesting to at least see finally an example, written example of the effect, because you don't ever see it, right? Microsoft's never going to say, Halo Infinite sold X% worse than Halo whatever because it didn't launch into Game Pass or whatever. It's always going to be players and how much time spent in the game. So there is that effect, but for those that are taking this as an L, I think again you're misguided. I think it's too early to make those claims. If we don't see announcement of Game Pass subscribers growth, and not in terms of day one Game Pass subscribers, what does that look like in 6 months? 12 months? So those people stick around. That's the real indicator. But from all accounts, Call of Duty was nearly too big to fail in this service. And I went on, I guess, on the record last fortnight when we spoke about it to say that I don't think it was going to change much, because I think there is just the crowd of Call of Duty people that buy Call of Duty who will buy Call of Duty. And even if they could get it for $20 on Game Pass, they will still just buy it, because it's the one game we play all year, or one or two games that we play all year. It's tradition. I've been buying it every year for the last 15 years. That's what we do. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the Game Pass people play it. We're seeing the smart consumer, people who are engaged in shows like this, subscribe to Game Pass knowing that it's come. But your average Joe Blow who plays Call of Duty every year probably doesn't even know Game Pass exists still, and is still just buying it. But again, physical sales are down. But then there was a 60% increase on PlayStation. So either way, any way you cut it, it's a massive release. It's a massive success. It's a massive success for Microsoft, but it's a massive success because of its dual launch on Game Pass and increased sales on PlayStation. And if anything, it's just going to further cement that multi-platform push is probably the right way to go.
So, okay, so this kind of begs the question, and this was the whole thing with the Activision acquisition. Was, Call of Duty coming to Game Pass, sure. Is Call of Duty going to come to other platforms? And it was we'll do it on a case-by-case basis. Until, obviously, it got to the stage where they're like, okay, yes, we'll have it on other platforms, and it had to basically be set in stone. But let's say that didn't happen. Let's say, in a different world, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 only released on Xbox and PC through Game Pass or through unit sales. What do you think the reception would have been? Obviously, yep, they don't get the PlayStation sales. Okay, we get the sales part. But what do you think the reception would have been for the game? Because this this is something that you're also going to look at when you've got like Elder Scrolls 6 coming out. Like if that doesn't drop day one on PlayStation, which I have a feeling it will,
No,
because
100%
it's just
will.
it's too big of a game to basically have just on Xbox. But if Call of Duty was only available on Xbox and PC and not available day one on PlayStation, what do you think the reception would have been?
I think honestly, we are beyond the time where back with PS1, 2 and 3, every generation was a refresh. So people went from PlayStation to Xbox. You know, they might have went from PS2 to 360 to PS4 and you kind of jumped around. Now that your library is consistent and games move forward and most games are evergreen in terms of just, you know, add content, I don't think you can make a game anymore that will make someone switch entirely. So even a game like Call of Duty, you know, Call of Duty not launching on PlayStation would have been a disaster for Microsoft and Activision. The games, you know, obviously you played it, but I've seen like when you load up the game, it's like how many studio names are mentioned? Like High Moon, Raven, like it goes on and on. Sledgehammer, well, not Sledgehammer, but Treyarch, you know, like all of them.
Treyarch.
They're all there, right? It would have been such a financial loss that it wouldn't have justified the game's development. They can't do it. So,
I think you do raise a good point though,
yeah.
about how we are ingrained in our historical library.
Yeah, nothing's making me
That's
switch.
that's going to stop you. That's going to stop you from changing consoles. Like you and I are in privileged positions in a sense, where we've got libraries from different platforms and catalogs, and so it's not really a big of an issue. But like I've got people who, you know, they have a PlayStation and they don't subscribe to PlayStation Plus. They've got their PlayStation games, and it's like, okay, well, Halo comes out. Are they going to sell their PlayStation or their games just to get an Xbox and Halo? No, they won't.
My friends are here. My games are here. I've been playing for 10 plus years here.
Yeah, I've got games that I bought on the system 10 years ago. Like the moment you switch over, you lose all of that, which like it's almost like you are investing in your platform of choice and you have to get in early.
And Microsoft know that. They Phil Spencer went on the record and said we lost the worst generation, which was the PS4 and Xbox One, because that's the generation people became ingrained. That was the first generation where it was like moving forward, all your game purchases physically and digitally are carrying over to the next console. And people made their bed, and now people won't move. And Microsoft know that is why they're doing what they're doing, because it's like, and Phil Spencer said it, you know, Starfield could have been an 11 out of 10 and it wouldn't have brought people across. It could have been. It could have been if it was reviewed as the game of the
generational game.
I still probably wouldn't have. I wasn't interested to begin with, but it's still. I probably wouldn't have done anything. You know what I mean? Like I would have just loaded it up on my PC to try it, which I still could, but that's still not enough for me to go buy an Xbox. They know that. Like that's the thing. We're saying things that they already know, and people just don't want to believe that fact, and they think it's a fanboy thing to say what I'm saying, when it's like, well, no, the CFO of the company, the CEO of the company, the head of Xbox is telling you this. People won't move across, so you need to go to where people are. And ultimately, what Microsoft's doing, and I said this from the very beginning, people said, is this going to be the end of Xbox? I said, no, this is the thing that is going to keep them around forever. Beyond the time where we have a console, Microsoft is going to be one of the biggest players, because they're going to have their footing in releasing multi-platform, mobile, cloud. They're everywhere. Sony's the one that's going to have to do the pivot, which works in their favor, and they do that all the time, where it's like, wait, right at the last minute, then we'll do it. Like, Microsoft's been launching onto PC for how long? Like, 10 years? Sony's only just started doing it, and they're still not even launching day and day. Like...
So, funnily that you mentioned that, because that ties into the first topic that we had in today's show about games as a service and Sony, and how they're starting to look, not necessarily reckless, but they're starting to look like they're having to make decisions. They're having to change things. Maybe that is because we're so out of it from a consumer end, because we just see the end of it. Whereas, as you've said, Microsoft know exactly what they're doing. They know what the game's going to look like in 20 years. They're positioning themselves in a way so that way they're going to be the powerful player. And Sony's realized that, whether it's through their own research, or maybe this Activision Blizzard King acquisition, like maybe that's kind of really opened their eyes because now they've got the facts, and it's a case of, well, we need to do something.
It's the monthly active users, and when you've got games, the biggest games in the world available on your previous generation console, why buy a PS5 when I can play FIFA still on PS4? I can play Fortnite. So then it makes it hard, and then when Sony releases the next God of War and it's only on PS5, like, it's all a ripple effect. If everything was moving forward, that's what moved console generations forward, right? Was when PS3 launched, that was it. Games were developed for PS3, and PS2 was in most cases left behind, right? So that meant that if you wanted to play Call of Duty, if you wanted to play FIFA, not FIFA because that was on PS2 forever, but you know what I mean. Like, most of the big games you had to upgrade. Where now you could consistently just play on PS4. Horizon was still there. God of War Ragnarok was still on PS4. You could, Which
is funny because that's what PlayStation said right at the start. They're like, yep, and we even said they are generational. They talk about the next console. You're starting with a new one.
Not anymore. You can't.
Not anymore. And Xbox has got that from a software digital perspective, and PlayStation is still kind of doing the games thing on.
And then what happens with PS6? Do people from PS4 go to PS6, or do they upgrade to a PS5? And then they're in the same position again where their previous generation is still around. And I think that works both ways because those consoles are cheaper to make and they make more money selling them. But it also means it stifles the games. Like, I think next generation, you're not getting exclusives in terms of PS6 exclusive, Xbox, whatever. Every game that comes out, it'll be on, if it's an exclusive, it'll be on PS5 and PS6, and that's it. Because the people that will upgrade, and that's the delicate balance Sony need to play, not to turn this onto a Sony thing, but they're in that position where they have to do that, where Microsoft don't care if you don't buy the Xbox. They don't care if you play it on PC. Sony cares if you play it on PlayStation. But how do they convince people to upgrade if 80% of the games that release are on their previous generation? I will upgrade because I'm a day one consumer and I love it. But someone like my younger brother who's, maybe say 15, say if he was 15 when PS6 came out. Like, and he goes, well, why would I can play Call of Duty, I can play Fortnite, I can play everything on my PS5. Why should I upgrade? Good point.
Well, that's actually like one of the things that Xbox has been doing recently, and you might not have noticed because I know you probably don't buy a lot of physical Xbox games, but they used to have like Xbox One on the spine and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, just says Xbox.
It just says Xbox. And on the front, it'll tell you like, Xbox Series and Xbox One, or it'll just have Xbox because it's going to work on both.
And maybe a step, and to wrap this up, the step of consoles dying, not that I ever want them to die, and I don't think they ever will die, but I think what will die, perhaps, is the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as opposed to PlayStation. 5 years' time, the new PlayStation. It's just, and it's, you could play on the PlayStation that's 2 generations old or 1 generation's old, and it just runs worse and worse, but it's all PlayStation, and it's all one ecosystem. All right.
My mum's been calling it the Nintendo since the 90s.
My dad says the Atari still.
There you go.
That's his connection.
But it's the Atari. It's the Nintendo.
Get off the Atari. I'm like, Dad.
It's a PlayStation 4.
It's a PS3 at the time. Leave me alone. But anyway, congratulations, Call of Duty and Microsoft. Massive success.
Yeah, basically. If you do have Game Pass, I actually recommend giving it a crack and playing through it because it is fairly solid, and the reviews are showing that as well. Which is always nice to see. I think actually it got... actually, you know what? Before we finish up, there's something I do want to mention about reviewing for a sec. Have you seen the reviews for Mario and Luigi?
No.
The
I heard IGN gave it a really low score.
IGN gave it a 5.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure they got a guest reviewer on. I saw an image. I'm not sure if it's true. I should look it up. But there was like a screen for a guest reviewer, and it was Logan Paul.
Nah.
Or Jake Paul. Sorry, Jake Paul. And it gave him a 5 out of 10. But like everyone else is like 9s and like 8s.
Nintendo always gets a bit solid. Of a bump though. I do feel like that.
Yeah, but then they're like a 5.
Like it's just like Mario. The new Pokemon's an 8 or 9 out of 10. I'm like, well, it's running like 10 frames per second. Why are we giving this a 9? But anyway, that's a completely different discussion.
And Black Ops, by the way, is at an 84 Metascore.
Yeah, that's great.
84. So, which is very good because when you're looking at, the recent releases, uh, there's been a couple which, like for example, Dragon Age, which I'm not going to go to too much detail now because I haven't played it, and I'm sure you're thinking about playing it.
I've got a
But
copy sitting on my desk
there
over
you
there.
go. So that got an 83 on Metacritic, but the user review score has trashed it.
Yeah, that's why
You don't need to. Yeah, you don't
that's
need to
why I
buy it
purchased
to
it.
review it.
Because I'm
Yeah,
like,
you don't need to buy it to review it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm like,
But there you go.
I need to know, because how can a game be a best RPG of the year and then the worst RPG ever made all in one? I'm like, I just need to try this because
Well, Mario and Luigi Brotherhood got an 80, by the way.
yeah.
So
I think Nintendo could take a shit and someone would still give it a 10 out of 10. But anyway.
Hey, they had this Mario Party game which was terrible. It was just mini games, and everyone's like, yeah, but I like Mario Party because of the mini games, but I want to play on a board too. And they're like, well, we don't care. Here's a free for all mini game. Have fun.
Here's a clock.
Smash each other with a hammer. Yeah, he's a clock. He's an alarm clock for $140.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are going to wrap up our show. Firstly, we're going to talk about the games that we're currently playing. Obviously, I'm playing Black Ops 6. A couple of other games that I'm touching on. I'm still doing a little bit of Disney Dreamlight Valley. That's my go-to relaxing game. And I'm also getting stuck into Tunic. Remember
yes.
Tunic?
Yep.
So I'm starting to play through that. I'm enjoying it, but I want to finish Black Ops 6, finish the campaign first, and go through that. Josh, what are you playing at the moment?
Still playing through Dragon Ball Z, but mostly playing Metaphor. And I'm about 25 hours in at this point, and it's got me. This is the Atlas game to finally get me. I was talking to our friend Vinny about, I tried Persona 5 very briefly, tried Persona 3 Reload, got about 10 hours through that, and it just wasn't clicking. And I said to him, I think it's the shift in tone. Like, the high school setup just didn't work for me, and the character designs didn't work for me. The whole thing didn't work. Metaphor is just clicking on every level. I love the class system that is implemented, which is an old thing from Final Fantasy. I love that, where it's like, you can make any character your mage by equipping the mage archetype onto them, which then changes their weapon and their playstyle. But you don't have to, invest in building someone as the mage, and then that's their only role. You can swap, and look, I'm going 100 miles per hour, but I want to do a dedicated review discussion on Metaphor when we get to that point, once I've finished it, or at least when I'm much further in the game. But I did want to show you this. Have you heard the battle theme for Metaphor?
No.
All right, I'm going to play it through the speaker. This thing's it's so good. It's so addictive.
Okay, all right.
Let's see if it comes through. You hearing this?
No.
Really?
No.
No.
There's little whispers. You know that your microphone has a setting that drowns out
Background noise
and such.
All right. Well,
yeah.
I'll send you the link. The battle theme in this game is incredible, and the whole purpose of Metaphor is about the whole point. It's called Metaphor, Refantasia, right? It's a metaphor for the human condition in terms of how it relates to politics, how it relates to racism. That's a big part of the game, right? And it's that much it's so deep that the battle music it's got a vocal. I think it's sung by a monk. But the language that they speak in the battle theme is I googled it before. It's called Esperanto, which is a real language that was created, that was a made-up language that all nations could speak. But the whole purpose of the game is about unity and bringing people together. It's this little...
It's like Latin.
Yeah, it's like a Latin language, but little details like that, right? It's... Because you hear it and you're like, what language is this? And then you do a bit of research and it's like, oh my God, they chose the language that's about unity and bringing people together in a game that's about unity and bringing people together. So...
what a woke game.
Oh, it's so good. I can't wait to talk about it. And I'll send you the link to the battle theme. But man, this game's... I'm thinking about it night and day. I'm going to bed thinking about it. I have some issues with it, which I'll talk about at a later date. But all in all, this is one of my favorite games this year.
Oh, okay. Big call early on. But we'll find out a little bit more of that when you do finish it late next year. No, it's not that long of a game. It's okay. But otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. It's been a little bit different. We're recording this during the day. I'm on annual leave.
And I'm working.
Josh is in between meetings. So we managed to find some time to do it over the course of the effectively long weekend. But anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's episode. This has been episode 15 of Busy Playing Something. I've been your host for today, Sean, as always joined by Josh. You can find us on our social media. As I said at the top of the show, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, as well as on YouTube here for video content. You'll be able to find me at Holy DePrawn on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find Josh at Joshua LaRosa. Do you have any final things you wanted to say, Josh, before we wrap it up for today?
No, just thank you for your time. Obviously, a fortnightly show. And I want to give myself props for the name of today's episode. PlayStation has a gas problem. I think that's actually, if you got some intellect, you think, oh, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Lack of intellect, mate.
Yeah, well.
Come on.
I think I've got a gas problem.
They have a gas problem if Stalker does really well on Xbox. That works.
3 months later, it's on PlayStation. Who cares?
Stalker?
Yeah, it's only coming out. It's only a 3-month thing.
That's wild. Okay, anyway. So that's us for today. Thank you very much for joining us. And hopefully we can get native PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 5. So that way I can actually play some of these games I've got back here.
See you in a fortnight.
That'd be really nice.
Bye-bye.
See ya.